and welcome to the 5th episode of VolleyTalks. We are here for an amazing time today because we have the person behind the Prime Volleyball League today with us. And it's my absolute privilege to introduce a global leader and a representative of Indian sports, a flag bearer of Indian sports who has played a pivotal role in the last 2 decades, really taking Indian sports to a new level. It's my privilege to introduce Mr. Joy Bhattacharjya. He is a quizzer, orator, writer, and a sports producer. He is the person behind the Prime Volleyball League, an absolutely brilliant sports expert. He was the former team director of the IPL franchise Kolkata Knight Riders. In addition to that, he was also the director of the FIFA Under-17 World Cup, and he currently is the CEO of the Prime Volleyball League, and he manages the entire show. Welcome, sir. It's an absolute delight to have you on VolleyTalks on episode number 5. How are you doing, sir?
All very well. Thanks, Shaurya, for having me. It's a pleasure being here.
Sir, would love to go straight into the questions. The first question that I have for you, Joy, sir, is tell us a little bit more about the young Joy Bhattacharjya. Your love for maths, which is not generally the usual choice for a teenager. Could you just walk us a little bit of your childhood background, please?
No, I was basically, I was too small for my age, for my size when I was smaller, because I studied when I was much younger than my classmates. But in 11th, 12th, I finally got to a place where I could play, sport as well. And I grew tall. And actually, my sports of choice were first basketball and then cricket. And then played a fair amount of that and then went to college. I did a degree in mathematics, which I really enjoyed. And while all of mathematics was not fun for me, there were a lot of parts of those mathematic things which were really fun. Probability, set theory, there are certain particular parts which I really enjoyed. And after that, I did my master's in computer applications and became a software engineer. But that was, I've always had an enduring love for not just numbers. Mathematical theory is probably more like it. I'm probably more interested in topology and set theory than I am in the way numbers behave rather than actual numbers themselves. It's difficult to sort of put it like that, but yeah, I'm interested in the analysis behind the numbers more than just the numbers. Yeah.
Wonderful. Great to know, sir. Also, one more question, regarding your journey over the years. Please walk us through the paradigm shift of broadcasting, in India from the old days of Doordarshan to ESPN Star. You have been in center of it all. Could you please walk us your journey through it?
So look, at one point, and this is, I joke you not, until the mid 90s, there was a situation where Doordarshan used to show matches, and whatever money the BCCI used to make, they used to make from the signboards that were there on the fields, which were put by them. And at one point in time, that was the only revenue for the BCCI, which was a very, very poor body at that day. At that point in time, Indian cricket and Indian hockey were probably equal. And then India won the World Cup first. And then what happened was that, people like Reliance came in to support the 1987 World Cup. But even then, the money was not very great in Indian cricket. It was a one-off event where a lot of money came. What really changed it was in the early 90s when basically Doordarshan said, I'm not going to cover your cricket matches. I will charge you for it. And the BCCI was in a total flap. They said, if they charge us for it, how we make money of these signboards? We've got to do something. And at that point in time, Transworld International came in and said, what rubbish, around the world, people pay millions of dollars for rights. Indian cricket is the biggest property. And they put money and they started buying it. And that was the moment that Indian cricket, and I remember there was a famous match in 1993. There was a tournament in Calcutta, the Nehru Cup. And I remember that in the finals, Doordarshan refused to give up their ability to do it. So they set up their cameras. TWI set up their cameras because the broadcast was also going on one of ESPN or Star Sports. And there was actually a strange situation where, it was a Hero Cup, not the Nehru Cup, it was a Hero Cup. There was a situation in the stadium where actually 2 different telecast crews were covering the cameras. But after that, once the value of Indian cricket on television was there, immediately the whole game changed, because that was finally when, putting India's most popular sport out to 1 billion people got value, and that's how basically cricket totally changed from there.
Wow, that's something very interesting. Would you also say volleyball is at a similar level in India right now? Is it just taking off? And what's the future of volleyball according to you?
See, I'll tell you one thing. Two things that we actually totally underestimate. One is how important India is to the world, and it's very difficult for us. Look at it, we sit inside, and we say that, oh God, we our games are not good, nothing is good, everything is not good enough. The point of it is that actually every big federation in the world wants to come to India. Every big federation in the world, and there is a simple reason for it. We are 1.3 1.4 billion people. We have a flourishing huge GDP. We have a big market, huge market. And other than cricket, no sport has really penetrated very deep, which means that there is a huge opportunity. There's a phenomenal opportunity. Indian sport is so underserved that there's a phenomenal opportunity in Indian sport. Now, the one thing about volleyball that makes it especially good for this is two things. One is volleyball in India is not, you don't need to introduce volleyball in India. It is all over. It's a rural sport. It is played, even if you see the top players who are playing even here in the Prime Volleyball League, a lot of them come from rural backgrounds, strong rural backgrounds, because volleyball is a resource thin sport. You need very few resources to play volleyball. You need not even a net, you need a rope and you need a ball, and you can play volleyball tied to two coconut trees and play volleyball. So you can play volleyball at many levels. So, and volleyball is already played. It's a sleeping giant because such a big game played by so many people in India has absolutely no face on Indian television or Indian screens. So it's a phenomenal opportunity. And volleyball is truly a sleeping giant because as a game, it looks good, it looks colorful, there's a lot of action, it's very action packed, it's put together in a very tight package, and yeah, there's real value there.
I couldn't agree more. And it's absolutely true. So, how did Prime Volleyball League start? Could you just walk us through your thought process and what's the vision for Prime Volleyball League as well?
So we originally started in 2019 or 2018 when the VFI invited us to try and do something about volleyball. And we had a look, and I had a look, and I felt, as a former television person, I knew how to make this look good on television because I think that is the single most important thing. I knew the players were good enough. It was now about making the television product. So we made a fantastic product, and forget VFI. FI was so happy they came to see the finals. They wanted to do a volleyball World Cup in India. Unfortunately, our officials got too greedy and they decided that, if this property is already there, it's worth a gold mine. Why can't we do it ourselves and we can make a little bit more money for our pockets? And they cancelled our contract. And two things happened. A, we took them to court, and they absolutely took them to court and took them to the court obviously looked at it, everything, and decided that they had totally unfairly and unjustifiably cancelled us. And then the courts asked us, do you want your money back, or do you want to get your property back, or do you want damages? And we thought about it for a while, and then we said that these people are not going to change. And if they're not going to change, if we get the property back and we try and do it again with them, at the crucial time, if they let us down, all our sponsors, all our franchisees will be dead. And then we figured that the only stable way to do a product out here was to have two things: have franchises who are also a part of the league, and therefore they're stable, they're long term partners. That's one. Two is to not have any federation who can suddenly change the rules on you, or suddenly turn on and cancel you, or suddenly new elections bringing a new leader which who wants to do in a totally different direction. Those are all things that are potentially dangerous to a sport, because what happens in any Indian sport or any sport is that you need a gestation time of 4 to 5 years where you're just investing. The money you get later can be exponential, but at that point in time, you're just investing, you're just putting in money, and you're hoping that things will work. So that is basically what it's all about. And we figured that the only way to do it is to have a situation where we are not dependent on a federation or how their moods change or how their officials change.
Right. And I must congratulate you, Joy sir, for the phenomenal work that you are doing. And I've been watching almost all the matches, and it's an amazing product that you have created, Prime Volleyball League. I'm sure it's going to take Indian volleyball to the next level itself. Coming back to your favorite topic regarding numbers, you said initially that you love maths. We have some interesting stats for you in general, but before that, a quick question. How important is data according to you in the sport of volleyball? Would you like to throw some light on data and statistics for volleyball
Look,
as such?
it's huge. It's really huge because volleyball is, you see, nowadays there's nothing. Volleyball is a hugely artistic game. It's a hugely, beautiful game to watch. It's an instinctive game. It's an athletic game, but it's also a hugely data-driven game. Knowing where to serve, knowing whose first pass is weak, knowing when to toss and serve, knowing whether to go for a pipe attack or to go down the middle. What do you want to do? How do you want to play your offense? How does their blockers match up? The beauty of volleyball is it can be watched very simply, and yet it is a technically, there is so many variations, so many things that you can do within volleyball. It's like baseball, these games like baseball and volleyball are like, they are heaven for data analysts because there's so much to analyze and so many things to do. And it's just a very that's the beauty of it. It's like chess. You can learn the basic moves on chess in exactly 5 minutes, but to learn the intricacies of chess can take many lifetimes. And I feel uh, analyzing volleyball is a lot like that.
Well said, sir. Well said. Also, so let's go straight into some numbers, and then I have some more questions for you. The first stat that I would like to just quickly run you through, if you just look at the all teams average, and this is your kill percentage, your efficiency, your first ball efficiencies, block percentage, etc. What do you think can be better in terms of these data? And I just like to, we are on an average having a 50% efficiency in terms of kill percentage. In terms of block percentage, there is around 10% efficiency if I have to average it out. These are some numbers from season one. How do you think this can be even better in terms of season two? Would you like to share your
No,
thoughts on this?
lots of things. I think the two strong points, and actually they'll actually work against each other. One is that we have to have better serving efficiency. Our serving is still very far away from where we want to be. Serving is a huge defect, and I think it's because because serving is like free throws in basketball. It's a matter of practice and more practice. And I think that's the one thing that they really need to work on. What will happen though is when your serve efficiency increases, your first pass efficiency will actually drop, because the better the first services will become, the more difficult it will be to get that better first pass. So actually, data always depends on other data, and I think those are the kind of things that we're going to look at over time. I think our services have to improve. Our first ball, definitely, our first ball, a good first passes are a problem still. And I think our setters still, they set slowly. The fast sets really work, but compared to international volleyball, a lot of our setting is slower. I don't want to go into any more technical details like that, because I'm sure there are people who know the game far better than me who will be able to tell you more than that.
Sure. Also, just walk us through the new format. A lot of international players were also on VolleyTalks, and they were absolutely in praises for this new format. How did this new format come about? Super Sir, Super Point. Just walk us through this new format as well.
See, the truth of it is that we felt like, if you notice, I'll bring a cricket analogy because that's very easy for a lot of people to understand. What happens in cricket now is, if you watch a 50-over game, between overs 15 and 35, nobody's really interested. Because the problem is that part of the chase has become very boring. People, they have to grind it out. Nobody's going to take real risks at that period. Bowlers are content to bowl lengths. Batsmen are content to, just, dab the ball around. Similarly, in volleyball, especially if there's a lead of more than two or three, in international games between 10 and 20, there is absolutely no action. Nothing happens. They just, people are trying to grind away at a lead. So what happens is that, somebody's got a lead in a set, they'll probably win it, but then you have to wait 15 minutes for that result to happen. In this case, two things happen. One is that the games are so tight, the sets are so quick, that there is no time for the person to recover money, to actually turn around and feel bored that, oh no, these guys have left too much, they're going to go. If they've left too much, they'll probably finish the game off in another 5 minutes and set off another 5 minutes. And that is the strength of the format. Short formats, you're getting results very fast. And what happens also is, players have to therefore continuously focus, continuously be there for the game. Also 14 all. So if you've got it wrong, or you've read a pass wrong, 14-15 could be, the game is over. What happens then is it is a lot more pressure for players and coaches. It is a much more, the pressure in this kind of game is much more, when to call a super point, whether to risk a super point or not. Suppose you're leading by one, do you risk taking the super point? Because it could change it. But your opponent, because they're down by one, they can afford to do it. So in a way, the format favors people who are chasing rather than people who are ahead. But all that makes one huge difference. It is really installing content for people who are watching it. And I think at this stage in time, the first people we have got to satisfy, volleyball players will get their fun playing the sport, coaches will get their money and fun, coaching their sport. But it has to be, today, if in sport you're not a spectacle which is exciting and worth watching, people will not watch you. And therefore, we said we have to make rules that make volleyball the most exciting product possible.
And I think you have got it absolutely right, because all the international players who are there and even the national players are very much praised for this format. And I think one thing that I have really observed is everybody needs to be tremendously mentally focused, because even a slight glitch here and there, and then the matches get completely turned around.
Absolutely.
Okay, so moving on to the next data part that I just want to quickly share is this is the semifinals preview of all the teams, Kolkata, Hyderabad, Calicut, and Ahmedabad. Though I understand that you would not be in a position to favor anybody, but these are times where, like, I just want to talk about Calicut, for example. They were almost down and out, and then they have come roaring back in the last a couple of games. How do you make up for the semifinals? What is your predictions or anything you would like to talk about seeing this data for semifinals, especially?
So look, there are two, three things. One is that you see data, it's very interesting. One is the data that you see and one is the data that you don't see. But data actually changes, a lot of things changes. I mean, I'll give you an example. Like David Lee coming in, say, to Calicut, okay? What happens when a good player comes in is not necessarily, one is that he actually will impact the number of blocks that are made. But more than that, sometimes he's also intimidating a certain number of blocks. That means that if they see that this block is out here, they're moving the offense to the other side, or they're scared of hitting the block and they're hitting over, trying to get a touch out and hitting over. All those things happen. So all I'm saying is that when you have to look at this data, you also have to look at this data in perspective with who was playing or not playing that particular day. I think the data here is fascinating. I'm not going to analyze it because it's just unfair as a CEO of the league to look at it and look at any other team. But the one thing that all this data shows to me, and I had a fairly close look at it, is the teams are actually remarkably equal. They're actually remarkably close to each other. Even a team like Kochi, who technically is at the bottom of the table, if you see the games they played or how they went down, 15-14, 15-14, the points difference, there is very little to choose between the teams. It was which team held its nerve, which team stayed around, and which team also, to be honest, just got lucky in the last point. So it's a testament to the fact that this is as equal a league as you'll find, and we've just been lucky with that. We've been lucky. It's more even than we had ever expected.
Absolutely, and I think the number of super points that completely change the dimensions of the game. The close finishes. There have been times where there are you look at the match and it's 2-0 and you feel that one team is winning and suddenly it's 2-all in terms of the set score. So one more quick data point that I just want to throw about is if you just look at the overall interesting facts. These are some interesting facts. Now Hyderabad has the maximum number of substitutions, whereas Bangalore had the minimum number of substitutions. But one thing I just want to highlight is the number of under 25 players who are ranking in terms of in the leaderboard. There are 5 players who are under 25, and you have been also mentioning in certain of your social media posts of certain players who have never got a chance earlier due to various reasons, various factors, etc. But due to Prime Volleyball League, they have got a chance to showcase themselves in the national as well as in the international level. Please do talk a little bit about how important it is for the under 25 players as well.
No, absolutely. I think they are the future. They are what we're all about. We've lost 2 years to COVID and the federation right now. And it's really important. And I think that's one thing that even, say, for example, a team like Hyderabad and Ahmedabad have done particularly well. which is get a lot of youngsters, give them playing time, give them opportunities. I mean, you look at somebody like a Guru Prashant for Hyderabad. I mean, he was now starting ahead of an Olympian. I mean, Louis, the Olympian, is sitting down and he's starting. And I think that is one of the things that happens, that when you have a completely free market, that means players and teams will be judged only on wins and losses, there's no other politics involved, then what happens is merit always comes first. You know, in a system pre the IPL, Jasprit Bumrah may not have been picked up by Baroda or Gujarat. But in this current setup, any player, if you're good, nobody cares what language you speak, what's the color of your skin. If you're a good player, you will get an opportunity because teams are only incentivized to win. There is no other political thing possible. So it's a fantastic thing. We are seeing a lot of really, really good under 25 players bubbling through, and that's important because we are going to start challenging again in the world stage in the next 3-4 years. It's going to take us to set this mess to order. And I think those guys will be at their prime then. If they get 3-4 years playing this Prime Volleyball League with good coaches, good nutrition, good physios, it'll make a world of difference to them.
Absolutely. Also, I think it just sets the entire ecosystem. When you have something like a Prime Volleyball League to aspire to, then automatically youngsters gets fully motivated. I was recently touring in Maharashtra when this league was announced, and even the people at the grassroots level who have probably playing them as amateurs, they were super excited about the Prime Volleyball League coming, very soon. So like around a month back. I want to ask you, what is the plan from the league side in terms of grassroots development as well? How important would that be to set a feeder system? Would you like to talk a little bit on that front?
So or at least almost all of our current teams, almost all of our current teams want to do extensive grassroots setups. And we want to have grassroots tournaments, grassroots spotting, grassroots events that we can support, events that we can put something into, and also start coaching coaches. I think the single biggest problem we have is that a lot of our coaching is old style Soviet 70s and 80s style coaching. Volleyball has moved far ahead technically, far ahead technically. The kind of games that we play, the kind of warm-up routines that traditionally is done in NIS, Patiala and all of these are so totally out of date. So I think those are the places we really want to concentrate on. Basic technique is very important. Basic nutrition is very important, and a basic understanding of physio. How does your body work? Volleyball is a very different game from other sports. What are the kind of drills that you need to do? What is the kind of fitness that you kind of need to aspire to in volleyball? You don't need a very muscle-bound body. A very top-heavy body, a lot of weights may not help you in volleyball. But, what is it that does help you? What is it that helps your specific game? All these are issues that we need to sort of sort out and help coaches, help train physios, physios training physios, coaches training coaches, nutritionists advising nutritionists, because, we need to coach the coaching system first. And that's when you will start really seeing results in the long term.
Very true, very true. I think train the trainer will play a very, very critical role in order to create more coaches, more academies, and I think more academies means more players, and ultimately building up a strong feeder system. So just a couple of more questions, if I may. What is the plan for season 2? Season 1 is coming to an end almost. What's the plan for season 2 and the days to come?
See, season 1 was all about, we could have chosen a better date. We did it in the middle with ISL going on, PKL going on, Indian cricket going on. But we just had to do it because it was important for us to get it done. And we were, COVID, this so-called ex-federation that we have, them giving trouble. So it was important for the tournament to be held successfully. The next time we have an opportunity to review, pick a really nice, good spot where we are not, competing with that many people, so we can get through to even more people. And everyone now knows the product, how good it is, what it can do, what kind of value we can get out of it. So all we want to do now is just blast it and make some sort of a difference with it. So season 2, definitely one venue, maybe 2. We'll definitely be looking to, also play in Kerala, because I think that's one of the places where the game is the biggest. Hyderabad has been fantastic for us. So, we will look at it. We look at other options as well. And obviously, we'll probably look at maybe one team more, maybe 2 teams more. Let's see where we go with that. There's a lot of interest and a lot of talks, but, we are very careful not to do anything until we really are sure of these are the people we want to be with.
Yeah, Absolutely. So, what is the role of the league in order to support women players as well? And are we looking at a women's league in maybe in the years to come, or what's your thoughts on
No, no,
that?
we are absolutely looking at a women's league. We are looking at both the women's league and beach volleyball leagues. And look, it depends on two really simple factors. The number of top women's players we can get together, because each team, if you need to have 6 to 7 top Indian players of a certain similar standard, so that we can put a league together with them. And I think that's where we are, really working hard to try and figure out whether we can. Definitely on our minds, definitely something we want to do. There's no question about it at all.
Sure. So just though you kind of avoided the question initially, and I understand, I just want to throw in one thing that we calculated was the win predictions. This is just from our side that we have kind of worked in the back end to calculate, and this is the data that we could come across that 31% we feel, as per the data, Hyderabad has a chance of winning this league. 30% to Ahmedabad, 28% to Calicut, and 26% to Kolkata. I just wanted to understand from, do you think predictions is now a very, very key factor in multiple sports as well? There's a lot of fantasy things also happening. Do you think a similar space exists in the sport of volleyball as well in the near future?
Predictions, number crunching, number analysis is here to come. Volleyball is a sport designed for technical analysis. It is a dream. It's a technical analyst dream, because the number of factors that you can actually properly analyze. I mean, I think football is actually a difficult game to analyze, because it's a far more subjective sport and the number of touch points are much less. Volleyball is a much easier sport to analyze in really good detail. So I think there's a huge opportunity out there, and as the sport becomes bigger and bigger, the ecosystem of sport will become even bigger. And 95% of the ecosystem of any sport today is the numbers, the predictions, all that surrounding the sport. So I mean, as the sport grows, expect that to grow exponentially, and I see a huge future for it.
Lovely. So, last two questions. Number one was, suppose a youngster, who is a national volleyball player himself, would want to be a part of Prime Volleyball League in the upcoming seasons, or a volleyball enthusiast would want to contribute to the Prime Volleyball League. How does one do that? How could you just walk us through the process as well for
See,
such a
right
young?
now for players and coaches, we have a simple system. We actually have a Prime Volleyball. We have a website. You can just go there, register. Simple. And every player who registered for the Prime Volleyball auction, their name was read out, because we don't leave. We believe that every player should have the opportunity. Players and coaches, there's an easy option for you how you can become a part of Prime Volleyball. For anyone else, and we'll obviously open that for season 2 the moment season 1 closes. For anyone else, all we can say is that let's figure a way as to what we haven't still figured out how to bring the fans more active, other than coming onto our Prime Volleyball pages and giving them more value there. But let's figure that out over the next few months.
Absolutely. So, what would be your message to a youngster, maybe 13, 14 years of age, upcoming volleyball player, loves the sport of volleyball? What would be your message to inspire such a youngster?
Nothing, play, train. There's a huge future in this sport. There's going to be, by the time you get to your early adulthood, there's a huge future in this sport. Practice hard, play well, good nutrition, good technique, good training. These are 3 things that you need. Just keep that up and you will be fine. Absolutely fine.
So, and lastly, any last message from the CEO of Prime Volleyball League for the audience today who has been watching? Anything
Nothing.
that you
Just
would?
want to say, you guys at Basicx are doing a fantastic job. Every sport needs data. This is great data, and only when you have good integrity data with integrity does that sport really become a worldwide phenomenon. You're doing a fantastic job there. I really enjoy VolleyTalk, and I really enjoyed my time out here. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for sparing your valuable time and gracing the occasion. It was absolutely a phenomenal experience having you, and hope to have you soon for more such editions as well. And congratulations on the fabulous work that you're doing at Prime Volleyball League. I'm sure this volleyball, you will take volleyball to the level cricket is currently at India. So many congratulations, and once again, thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me on the show. Bye bye.